So behind us, we have the replica of the drunk monks.
Yeah. My parents picked that up when they were out in Italy. My dad was stationed over there, and it's been in our family since. My mom's shocked it's still around. Can't believe it.
They wanted to get rid of it, and Steven said, I will take it. Do not get rid of that.
If only it were that simple.
There's more to the story.
Oh, there is. I actually snuck out into the garage in the middle of the night because I heard my mom tell my dad she was going to pitch it. And so I snuck out in the middle of the night, and amongst all the other yard sale and trash items, found the drunk monks. Shuttled down to my car, threw it in, and I waited till morning. And in the morning, I drove out before my mom even woke up.
Absconded with the drunk monks.
Yeah, she couldn't say no. Well, it's funny though. I don't think she realized that I had it. And then there was a period of time where my parents, they had sold their house and they were moving down to the retirement home. My mom needed a place to crash, so she crashed with this guy. And when she came in on that first day and she saw that hanging in the living room, she let out a joyful squeal. Oh my God! It was great.
And now it adorns our wine cellar.
It's the perfect fit, you know? It just needed to... I mean, it was good in the living room, don't get me wrong. But I think I am getting, to an age where having drunk monks in the living room is maybe not the ideal situation.
It's based on a famous painting.
It is. I went and looked up, the artist and where it was painted originally. But it's all Italian words. I'm trying to work on my Italian pronunciation, so in my head I can see all the letters together, but I'll spare everybody if I'm trying to pronounce it.
We are continually working on our pronunciations. I took French for many years, but it's been quite some time.
I took Spanish. So I
now-
can roll my R's. That's about the extent
and I
of
cannot roll my R's.
the use of my foreign language skills.
But I grew up hearing my father speak Italian. It's his second language, so I sometimes am able to take a good guess.
Yeah.
But that's one of the things we always mention about wine that we love is that when you learn about wine, it intersects with so many other areas, and language is one of them. So there's history, geography, culture, everything, and including languages. So I've been more inspired to study pronunciation of, especially the old world.
Yeah. Well, at the beginning of all of this summer, you were really doing the Duolingo.
Oh yeah, I spend a lot of time with Duo.
A lot of time with that little Duo guy.
Duo is sad now. Duo every now and then emails me that he's sad.
Yeah.
I was trying to brush up on my French.
Yeah.
Shall we?
Ah, of course. So in proper service, you put the label towards the person that you're serving. I mean, we're in a little bit of cramped quarters here, but...
And you serve the lady first.
And you serve the lady first. Ah, very good.
Pale copper.
Or peach, as they may say.
Oh, and we'll get into that. Color of wine.
Cheers. Yeah, that's super good. We did have
I can really taste the green.
the green, yes.
I don't know if that's how you say it.
We did have earlier we had pumpkin samosas.
Pumpkin samosas and pumpkin tomato bisque soup.
All from Trader Joe's.
Trader Joe's.
Yeah, and it was a perfect pairing with this.
Mm-hmm.
It was so good. Just that little extra pumpkin and even that little spiciness to the samosas.
Rosé's a real crowd pleaser with foods. I think it pairs well with so many foods.
Yeah.
Because it's got that, especially like a dry rosé like this one.
Yeah.
With the minerality.
A little minerality in it, yeah. Yeah, I don't know why. It's like I really do get that Gruyere.
The word's supposed to mean something with the climate of Bordeaux, that it's sunny and dry, and there's these scrubby, resiny plants like rosemary and lavender. And you kind of taste it in the wine. this like herbaceous, scrubby brush
Yeah.
note.
I really do get, like, the first time I had it, I was just like, it's just overwhelming. Like, at the very end, it was just like, is that Thanksgiving dinner in my mouth? Like, tarragon and rosemary. And it was just for a brief blip. And it was like, and then it was gone. And I was like, did I have food stuck in my teeth? And then there's a bunch of spices came out. But, you know, then I thought about what I had, and it was, no, I didn't have that fancy of food today, so it couldn't have been that.
Well, 2 minutes till.
2 minutes till.
One guest.
I am hoping that
Everyone's just gonna tune in all at once. They're just gonna hit your. What is it? A moderator?
Oh, that's probably what it is.
Oh.
Oh, we're terribly sorry. Hold on. Where is all of the?
Participants?
Yeah, 'cause we fiddled around with things. You know.
All right, we have more guests.
That's exactly what it is.
All right. Yes,
You know,
so in order to have webcam, we need to make everyone a panelist. When you're a panelist, you have the ability to share your webcam and to mute and unmute yourself. We ask that you mute yourself in the beginning, and then in the discussion portion, feel free to unmute yourself.
Oh, there we go. That's funny. Just like,
Well,
all right.
Okay, well, it's good to see some familiar
So good.
faces.
Yeah.
Welcome all.
Yeah, so we'll give everybody
Can't
a...
automatically make everyone a panelist. We have to actually click actively and make you all panelists.
Yeah, I think coming into the future, we'll just send out that link to everybody if we can't figure it out. So that way everybody's a panelist all the time. So we don't have to worry in case if somebody does have to drop out and come back in too. We don't have to worry about it. All right. Let's see. We got more people coming in. Also, the screen doesn't stay open. This is... Oh, okay. Well...
Maybe in a moment.
Maybe. Very good.
All right. Well, it's great to see everybody. We'll be getting started soon. We might give it a couple more minutes, just so that everyone can have a chance to log in, get their cameras and microphones going.
Very much so. I mean, I think that's the one of the beautiful things about this time is just really working on your patience, you know, especially when it comes to technology things.
Yes, this whole time, and everyone's always learning like new technologies and new setups. And
Yeah.
you have to be flexible.
Yeah, it's great to see that, you know, everybody has, you know, is getting on, getting their webcams up and running.
Yeah, we love to see the webcams.
Yeah.
Because there's an interactive portion of every lecture.
Yeah. It's my favorite part of it, actually. When people start throwing up the peace signs, the thumbs up. There was a situation where we might try to have a third option.
Oh.
Yeah. And I was like, well, how do you decide? I mean, because it's pretty distinguishing between these. And then I think this is the third one. This is the third one that we go with. The OK symbol.
Maybe. Or, I mean, there's probably a variety. Maybe we can come up with some things. I do like the
well, yeah. That's a good one for when they're both the same, you know?
Yeah.
But the... back in my... So, yeah.
Yeah, great. It's so good to see so many people. Again, welcome, and we are making everybody a panelist. That means you can share your webcam, and you will have the capability of unmuting yourself. We do ask that everyone stay muted in the beginning, and there will be a discussion in the second portion of the event, where we hope that you will participate and unmute yourself. But first, we'll ask that everybody stay muted.
Yeah. And it does seem like there's still a couple more people signing in, so we'll give it a couple more minutes, and if people want to set up their webcams and stuff like that, that way we can all see your shiny
Yeah, we'll
faces.
probably get started 5 minutes after.
5 minutes after, yeah.
If you need to run and grab something,
I can actually see the clock this time, which is important. A lot of times I'm like, oh, I'll start 5 minutes after, and then my impatience wears, and I'm like, okay, and we're gonna start.
That's definitely happened. Well, we're gonna give it 7 minutes, and 2 minutes later, Steven's, okay, we're gonna start. So welcome everybody. It's great to see you all. Welcome. Yeah. Thank you for being here. Feel free to share your webcam. We'll be doing a participation activity during the lecture. If you'd like to participate, use the webcam. Anything else before we get started?
I think just again want to share my just absolute just the positive emotions of having so many people order these packages was so cool. I really hope that everybody enjoyed the experience of it. I know some people there's a little bit of hiccups here and there, which, I mean, every time you start something from new, especially in this technological age, there's going to be a couple of hiccups, but, the customer support was really good. And I hope that people who didn't pick up the package, I hope people still feel like they will get a lot out of this lecture. I mean, the focus on all of these lectures moving forward is that 80 to 85, almost 90% of the lecture is going to be about educational stuff. Because if we're drinking 2 bottles or even 1 bottle over the course of an hour, you don't necessarily need to wait for us to start. A lot of times we're going to be sending out like tasting notes ahead of time, so that way you can enjoy the wine before you sit down and learn a little bit more about it, have some food with it, because we do start a little bit later here on the East Coast, just so that way people on the West Coast aren't, waking up from bed and cracking open some wine and enjoying the webcam with us.
We do try to compromise with the 7:30 Eastern time start time.
So we completely understand if you want to open wine, and we will be providing some, what should this pair with, what type of dishes would be really good. We are trying to eat more vegetarian/vegan when we can, and so we're going to try to incorporate some of those tasting dishes as well as the very standard chicken, lamb stews, beef stews, which I feel like now that we've gone to the vegetarian side of things, wine tasting notes is just like, everything pairs with chicken and steak. That's easy.
There's a little bit less literature out there on pairings with vegetables. That is kind of because they can be a bit more challenging sometimes. I think that's where the sauces and the spices really come in.
Right. I think spices and sauces can really help round out a dish. And that's kind of what we've been focusing on a little bit more, where it's just like if we have like a sauce, then what goes with that sauce, and then we just smother it over all of our vegetables. And it's delicious because delicious sauce is delicious.
Have you been to Narmada Winery?
Armada?
Yeah.
That doesn't sound familiar, no. We've not been to Armada.
It's fairly close, worth the drive. It was founded by an Indian couple, and they make very traditional wine, just like you'd expect from any other winery. And they also serve Indian food that's been tweaked a little bit so it pairs well with the wine.
That's a fun concept.
They might have some advice for vegetarian pairings.
Cool.
Very cool.
Yeah, that sounds like a great time.
I believe if you do speak in the WebEx, people can still hear that on the internet. So just if you're super secret private about your voice, do realize that is also being broadcast out. I think I got that working. We'll find out later. Like I said, everything's just a trial here. I don't think I've gone a single week without trying something new in these lectures. All right.
We'll give a final welcome to everybody who's just joined. You are all panelists, which means you can share your webcam and you can speak. We ask that everyone stay muted for the first portion because we're about to get started with the lecture. And then when we get into the discussion portion, we hope that you will participate in the discussion. So at that time, you can unmute yourself. So, thank you all for coming, and we're really excited. So,
yeah. Well, this is the Rosé lecture. Okay, actually that will work. Just getting my screen set up here so that way I can see all the information. So, On the first slide, this is obviously our upcoming dates. You guys should be getting emails about those, and you will be getting the specific web addresses as to how to log in when we get closer to those dates. The November 15 lecture, if you did order the wine package, was not included in that. That is a special thing that I'm doing with the Abruzzo and Molise Society, Heritage Society of DC. The WebEx portion Zoom call will be held with them, and then I will be posting online as well, and then we will have a WebEx afterwards where I can join in with you guys and we can chat about the wine. More details on that will come later. All right, so we're just going to jump right into it. So rosé and the color of wine. So when you walk down a typical grocery aisle, you get red, white wine, rosé exists. So we're going to, before we get into what are the colors of wine, we're going to talk about grocery stores versus kind of your mom and pop type of more intimate style wine shops, and why we made the switch and we won't really go back ever. It's super convenient to be buying your groceries and then go buy your wine. But grocery stores aren't necessarily for the people that are showing up to this lecture. You want to learn a little bit more about wine. You're looking for wines that have complexity, that have a sense of terroir and a sense of place in this taste. Grocery stores, they want to have affordable wine that is accessible in all of their locations. And so the volume that the wine needs to be produced at in order to be shelved at each of the giants or, Harris Teeters, they need to have a lot of quantity. And so, and there's also this aspect that you don't know how long a bottle's been sitting on that shelf. And has it been stored properly? Probably not. And so there are stores that are trying to do a little bit better of a job than your Giant and such like that, like your Trader Joe's, Costco, Whole Foods even. And a lot of times they have a manager. And so instead of just wondering what's the cheapest and largest quantity wines, they have a list that they get to select from, that their executives say, like, this is our overarching list. And each store manager can kind of pick and choose what sells better in their region, and kind of try to tailor it for the tastes of the people around them. And a lot of the times that's like a pretty sought after role, to be that person that gets to pick out the wines for Trader Joe's.
It's a dream job.
It is a dream job. I mean, I think the other dream job is to do the write-ups.
Yes, they always have those wonderful descriptions of their products. Yeah.
So outside of that, the person at the store doesn't necessarily meet with the producer of the wine, and they don't meet with the distributor of the wine either. Typically, they normally get a list and then they get to select from it. And then when you go to like the mom and pop stores, that's when you get to, oh no, hold on one second. Let me get this. Hold on. Yeah. All right. Well, oh, okay. That's why I wanted to do this in Keynote. Sorry about that for the technical difficulties. So this was a video of our local wine shop, Unwine, that we go to, and it would showcase the whole thing. Anyways, sorry, technical glitch. But so the beauty of a wine shop is that there's a sense of atmosphere and place when you walk in there. And all of the people there are really knowledgeable, super able to listen to what your needs are and give you that perfect wine. They are educated in like wine pairings and stuff like that. And they also work with the producers specifically in order to, or producers and distributors, in order to taste the wine ahead of time and know that it matches at least their flavor profile that they like, that they think will sell. When you find a wine shop, chances are if you like a couple of the bottles in there, you will like all of the bottles in there because you match your flavor profile of what you appreciate with the owner of the store. And so, I just encourage anybody that's looking to, really kind of dive into this wine world to find a local wine shop and support them and buy wine from them as opposed to the big box stores. And you can probably have a lot better of an experience and appreciate the wine a little bit more. And you'll get a little bit more of the story behind it.
Yeah, and that's, I think, the big distinction. For certain events, having jug wine, it has its place in the world. But for those explorations, for really digging into the stories and getting to taste the place.
Exactly.
The wine, the local wine stores, or stores that have staff who can really talk to you about the wine has that advantage. Yeah.
Very much so. Right. A lot of the times at grocery stores, the wine will be unoffensive, right? It'll be good. There'll be nothing wrong with it. But once you dive a little bit deeper, you'll also realize, but it's also not quite right and wonderful. And we can find those wonderful wines at local wine shops typically. All right. So now diving into the color of wine. So when somebody says a red wine, we're going to get into how that really doesn't. There's so many different types of reds. And even a Merlot that's 4 years old versus 48 years old has lost a lot of that red pigment. And that comes from the isocyanide, right? Is that isocyanide? Yeah, okay.
Sounds right.
Sounds right. Yeah. And so this is what Wine Folly, another great resource in wine, has kind of put out there as a key to look at the color of wine and be able to use the same language in order to describe color. And she's gone on saying that it's always a fun party trick to be able to like taste a wine and be like, this is a Zinfandel. And it starts with the color of wine, because when we get into wine tasting and the exploration of wine, if you're doing a blind tasting, it's like you're a detective and you have to figure out what is this wine based off of the clues. And a lot of times people will mention that story where they tricked Psalms by putting red food dye in white wine. And it's like, you can trick a Psalm or somebody who's been drinking wine for a long time by putting food dye into a wine, because they are trying to get cues from everywhere. Mm-hmm. And color's a big part of it.
Absolutely. And if you're drinking a wine that tastes like a white wine but looks red, and you've tasted a lot of wines, there actually are some obscure varietals that you might be guessing based on all the evidence in front of you. So that study is often touted as a reason why, wine tasting isn't really a thing, but there's more to it than that.
Yes. So today, our color of wine that we are drinking is this, what Wine Folly calls pale salmon. And so,
like a cooked salmon.
Like a cooked salmon, right? And that's the interesting thing about using the word salmon is that raw salmon versus cooked salmon and all the way along are different hues of pink. So if you do pick up a rosé and you don't know what color to say, just say, yeah, it's salmon. And if somebody's like, that's a pretty pale color for salmon, it's like, cooked salmon. Okay, so. All right, well, we'll do a cheers real quick. We're going to take a sip and then we're going to keep moving on. So, everybody, cheers.
Cheers to everyone out there.
So, I know we're getting into some pretty nerdy stuff here, but I hope everybody appreciates this. So, a typical wine grape. How do we get color from a wine grape? And the isocyanide exists in the skin of the grape, and then the inside pulp is clear. And so, that's your Cabernet, your Zinfandels, almost all of your red grapes.
Yeah, it's pretty common that that's the situation.
Yeah. And so whenever you have that red skin that rests with the clear pulp, the nutrients from the skin could bleed into the pulp and you get a redder wine. So today our wine had a little bit of skin contact, and then it was taken away from the skins. Now, there is also 3 specific types of grape where the compound from the skin has bled into the pulp and the inside pulp is already red. And there are a couple of places. One is up in the Finger Lakes that is making a rosé. That is just a rosé method of making the wine where it doesn't have contact with the skin, but it has this much richer color, and that's because it already has so much of that color compound in it.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. Pretty neat stuff.
Tienture.
Tienture, yes. And so now we're moving on to Château Paradis in Provence. So now we're going to get into our wine tasting.
The bottle that we're drinking this evening.
Yes. And so this is a picture of the Château in Provence. Beautiful.
Looks gorgeous.
All right, so we're going to give this a swirl and a smell here. And so between the two that we have here, we have a strawberry fruit leather, or more of like a jammy blackberry, maybe even some pie notes. So what are people getting? So kind of give you a second here. We'll do like a 5-second countdown, and if we can see some fingers go up for what people are getting.
Yes, if you're getting the strawberry fruit leather, you give the thumbs up. If you're getting more of a berry pie, pastry kind of thing, peace sign. Okay, I'm seeing some thumbs up.
All right, yeah.
I'm definitely getting some strawberry fruit leather.
Some strawberry fruit leather, maybe a little bit of lemon in there as well. Little citrus note. Yeah, very lovely.
Peachy, maybe.
Peachy.
Some stone fruit.
Yeah.
Oh, wait. I don't want to give anything away.
Yeah. Okay, so now we're going to take a sip of this. And now this is a dry wine. So it's not going to be sugary like these. But when you taste the wine, try to think, like, is it more like a sweet tart or is it more like a strawberry burst of fruity flavor? So, cheers.
Cheers. Cheers.
Oh, almost immediately we're getting so many.
I see some
many
thumbs up.
thumbs
I
ups.
see a peace sign.
There was some peace signs. There is a nice strawberry note to it. But one of the things about Provence that we really look for is, especially this old world, is this tart, refreshing note. And this really does show that quite well. All right, and then our last tasting note is... Sorry if that's super tiny. I'm not quite sure how that shows up on everybody's screens.
Yes, perhaps you could verbally explain. I see herbs.
Yeah, so on the thumbs up it will be herbs on the taste, or peace sign is like tropical notes, like guava, pineapple, watermelon, banana even.
Okay, I see a peace sign.
We are getting a lot of peace signs. Yeah.
All right, very cool.
Very cool.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. I can see like a guava.
A guava can definitely be in there.
Papaya, kind of.
So
slightly, yeah.
one of the things that we look for in Provence is this undertone of herbs and spices, like this overflow of like rosemary or thyme. I had that experience when I first tasted this, and I actually thought I had something stuck in my teeth. Like I thought from lunch. I was just like, because I had the beautiful strawberry and a little bit of citrus, and I guess I could definitely see like through that mid palate like a tropical note.
Yeah.
And then at the end, for a brief blip of time, there was just this overwhelming like Thanksgiving dinner almost in my mouth of like tarragon and basil and such, and I was like, that's cool.
The length too. I feel like the herbaceous note really comes out
As the longer it gets,
and it has some nice length. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so again, everybody, cheers.
Cheers. Hope you're enjoying.
Yes. Okay. So, rosé wine.
How is it made?
How is it made? So we're going to get into the techniques real quick. So we already kind of talked about color. Now we did our tasting, and now we're going to get into the techniques. So there's 3 main ways. Obviously, the first one that's the most obvious would just be blending. If you have a white wine and you pour a little bit of red into it, it will turn pinkish.
Nice.
Not very exciting.
And it's not really how most of them are done.
No, very few rosé is made that way. The first way that we're going to talk about is it's maceration. So what they do is they freeze down the grapes, and the skin is in contact with the pulp on the inside, and then it's chilled so that way it doesn't start to ferment. And then it's left for a period of time, 2 hours, 12 hours. It depends on what color the vintner wants to have on their grapes. So the less amount of time, the more pale in hue you get, and then the longer, it almost looks like red wine. If you just let it sit there for a really long time, you actually get red wine. That is just red wine. Yeah. Fun fact though about that is it can actually go so long. If you have extended cold maceration, like in Barolo specifically, the isocyanate goes out of the pulp, or it goes into the pulp and then back out of the pulp and back into the skins. and you get this really clear, almost you can see through the wine, but it's so tannin and so acid rich. That's an experience. So going back to the rosé, it's just how long it sits on there. There is a distinction where there's a special mechanism term for when you bleed off, like
Saignée.
Saignée
Means like literally like blood or bleed in French.
Yeah. And so you bleed off. So you have the red grapes sitting in your tank, cold macerating, and then you bleed off a portion of it and you use that for your rosé, and then you just let the tank go into fermentation and you make red wine. And they say that that's the better way to make rosé. And I kind of sat there and read this over and over again, and everybody says the same thing, and they're like, that makes better rosé. And it's like, well, no, if you're going to make red wine out of it, you're just already starting with better grapes, typically, if you're going to make a good red wine out of it.
It's true. People invest a lot in the red wine.
Yes. Yeah. And so I think rosé is a way to get wonderful red notes and red textures, some acid and some tannin. But you don't need to have the super high quality grapes to start with to make a beautiful, fun, and engaging wine. Okay. And so again, so cyanins.
Anthocyanins.
Yeah. All right. So that comes from the skin contact. Just a little refresher and awesome graphic from Wine Volley. All right. And so
many shades of rosé wine.
And so that is another factor that goes into what your end product will look like, is how much isocyanins the skin already has before it even goes into this process. So Pinot Noir is just always going to be more pale than a Malbec will.
Look at that Grenache. That's like a very fuchsia.
Fuchsia, yeah, it's beautiful.
Color, like the Tavel.
The Tavel is a fuchsia color.
Yeah.
One of the great things about rosé is that they are just so appealing to the eye. All right. So now we're going to talk about Provence, which is pretty much leading the way in rosé kind of marketing, and it's just it's their baby. It's what they have. And I think
they're the standard bearer for the world.
Yeah. And I think it's kind of cool to show pictures of all of the seasons, because you get a sense of place when you see this, right? Like, this is in the south of France, right on the Mediterranean. But their winters look like this, so cool. And here's another picture.
They do get the cold breezes from the Rhone.
Yes.
So
yeah,
they can get a little bit chilly.
A little bit, and some snow on the ground.
Yeah.
So here's where we are. Here's a nice little map. We have the Alps to the northeast. We have the Mediterranean to its south. And then if you go to the east, you run into the Rhone River in the Rhone Valley. So a lot of our grapes that are going to be here are the Southern Rhone varietals. GSM blend is the Southern Rhone, so Grenache, Syrah, Mourvedre. But I don't think it's actually Mourvedre so much as it is other varietals. We'll get into that in a second, though. All right, so this is where we are, Château Paradis, just a little bit north into the west of Marseille. Is that right?
North of Marseille, yes. And near Aix-en-Provence.
Yes. Okay, so springtime in Provence. And here we get a beautiful picture of what the soil looks like. Again, it's not like that topsoil, black, fertile earth. Like, grapes really like to struggle. They do well, and they represent some great characteristics when they have to struggle. And there's another beautiful picture with the mountains in the background.
Spring.
All right. Now this, I'm going to make a blog post and put this up there. It's kind of taken from, it's a lot of text, I understand. But today we're going to be drinking the Grenache. It's a Grenache, Syrah, and Cab Sauv blend. And so the reason why they want to use those blending grapes to do that is to create a delicate balance between the acid, the fruit forwardness, the approachability. The skin color is really important for rosé, as well as the flavor profile of what you get.
And on the bottle, you'll notice it says Château d'Aix-en-Provence, and one of the rules there is you cannot have more than 30% Cabernet Sauvignon, and you'll notice that they have exactly 30% Cabernet Sauvignon, so they're up to the limit on this one.
Wow, very good. And the Cabernet Sauvignon is going to give you that body because this does have a nice body to the wine. It has a nice weight in your mouth when you put it in there. It doesn't just feel like water. There's a nice viscousness that coats your mouth, and it's quite pleasant. Moving on to pretty pictures. So summertime in Provence. I mean, one of the things I think that every house comes mandatory with in the south of France is that it has a swimming pool. It's just in a swimming pool, in a vineyard, drinking wine all day.
Yeah, your ideal situation is one of those infinity pools looking out into the vineyard.
Yes, that's exactly what the ideal situation would be.
And you're drinking a rosé on the pool deck.
Yeah, I feel like I'm there right now. Here's some more pretty pictures. We can start to see the grapes coming in, the canopy being formed, and still that crappy dirt soil that nothing else would grow in. All right, so this is taken from their kind of tourism website. They were really pushing rosé knowledge. It isn't just something that it is something that you just drink, but
Rosé all day.
Rosé all day. And so over, 89% of the wine produced there is rosé. Most of it is shipped to the United States. And and then there's the breakdown of where kind of the distribution of where the wine is coming from. So chances are you have seen Côte de Provence in the grocery store. And that D''AIX is just Aix-en-Provence. I believe that's the higher quality region. I appreciate them a little bit more.
Château d'Aix-en-Provence, I think, has a little bit more of a reputation. Côte de Provence is the largest, as you can see, 73.5% of the bottles or the wine. But yes. So when we're drinking a Château d'Aix-en-Provence this evening.
Yeah. So I guess I'm a little biased then, since that's what we're drinking. All right, and now harvest in Provence. I love this picture. I saw the lavenders, and I immediately was just like, oh, that's to keep the scorpions out of the bedroom. I saw that in a documentary once. Now, what movie is that from? It's some rom-com about...
Oh, it was the gladiator gentleman.
Yeah, the gladiator gentleman.
Russell Crowe. He plays a character who inherits a winery. It's based on a book.
Yeah.
Delightful film.
Well, we'll get to that in the discussion part. I'm sure somebody out there already knows that and is screaming.
A good year.
A good year. Hit a good year. That does sound right. So here's the grapes as they're going through veraison. And they're turning from the little green berries into wonderful berries to eat and or turn into wine. Yeah. Here's another picture of the grapes that they have. And these pictures are all taken from the Château Paradis. So these are the grapes that we are drinking, depending on the year. But and then the barreling. So that's harvest, right? You have the grapes, they've grown, they fully go through veraison, and pick them, barrel them. So when you have the authority and you're saying you are the name in rosé, you kind of take that authority and you run with this idea of like, well, we're going to provide our own terms. And so how Wine Folly said like salmon and then had different shades like pale, medium, and dark salmon, they've come out and said, no, like there are distinct colors and these are the names that are best translated to English from the French. And the number one peach next to it is that they've actually said that the peach color sells the best. It has nothing to do with where it comes from or what grapes are in it, but if it's that color, which is
is that pretty close to what we're drinking?
That's pretty close. It is pretty close.
Premiere peach.
Premiere peach.
They all look lovely.
They all do look lovely. All right, and that concludes the formal section of our lecture here this evening. And again, here's the upcoming dates of when our next lectures are going to be. And I hope that everybody had a wonderful time. And we're going to close down the live stream, and then we're going to open up everybody. Please unmute yourself if you'd like to share. And we're just